So, all the way from Amsterdam, Netherlands, I would like to welcome Andreea Pap. She's an ex corporate girl, positive psychology practitioner, and the founder of Happiness Digger. Welcome, Andreea.
Thank you, Luca. It's a pleasure to be here. I cannot wait for our conversation to unfold. Thanks for having me from the gray and rainy Amsterdam.
Oh no, oh my God. After a few technical problems, we made it. We're like here. And before we start, I would like to ask you a few questions about questions. So, what was the question that the most meaningful question that you were ever asked?
Well, that's a big question to start with, but if to be honest, I don't know if the most meaningful, but the one that really stuck with me for the past few years is a question that someone asked me, probably 4 or 5 years ago already, which was simply, "What makes your heart happy?" And I think was such a powerful question at the time because I was pretty much into my kind of second corporate job, a couple of years in, and I was doing all of the things that I should, that I had to, that I must do. When you're in that stage in life. So it really felt a very like a refreshing question, to be asked. Okay, but what really what makes your heart happy? What is that thing that really makes you happy? And it was for me like a bit of a trigger question to really take the time to reflect, not only at work, what kind of made my heart happy, but also outside work. And it's a question that I kind of ask myself still today, just to help me make the right decisions and not let myself get influenced by the shoulds and musts and haves.
So, do you have the answer of the question?
To be honest, it varies. I use it in all sorts of situations. For example, obviously, I made a change in my career, so I really asked myself, okay, what makes my heart happy in this new stage of my life? What can I do to really make sure that what I do it's as much as it is for others, to empower people, but also to be careful with what I want and what makes me happy. And it's a question that I ask myself again and again. And when I do my, for example, quarterly kind of reviews of how things went, I really ask myself like, oh, did I do the things that made my heart happy? And sometimes I say yes to the question, and sometimes no, and sometimes, well, maybe here I could have done a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. So it really is applicable in different situations at different stages. It's just a way to make sure that you don't let yourself be carried away maybe with societal constructs, with the things that you should be doing, the things that obviously sound good, that maybe for a career, for example, are really important, that maybe does not bring what you doesn't bring you what you really are looking for in a job, or in a relationship. It can be really applied to anything.
Thank you. So, if I would ask you the question that you ask yourself, and this brought you to a breakthrough, is it the same question or is it another one?
Then if you ask me that question, I have to go back to my sales background. And it's a question that obviously as a salesperson, it's important that you ask yourself, or let's say, use to push yourself forward. And that question would be, what if it works out? Or what if it's a yes? And it really, it's something that, of course, I think for salespeople, it's something that we learn, and it becomes ingrained, that you always look for the possibilities and the opportunities, and you're always positive towards, well, what if it actually happens, what if it works, what if it's a yes, rather than already self-reject. So I think for me that's a question that still helps me today when I do things. And well, in my journey as an entrepreneur, I think it's been key. As I share with people in my work, we do have, of course, an automatic kind of negativity bias. So you probably know this very well. So
Yeah, because
brain...
I wanted to tell you that most of the people actually, they were in there, and this is like a positive mindset. Sorry to interrupt you, but like in general, people ask like, what if it won't work out? What will I do? And people worry, and none of the things like actually happen. But like very few people, they ask themselves if they really, what do I do if it works? It's a great way to, it's a positive mindset. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's really combating that negativity bias, and having worked in sales, that you will be getting lots of no's depending on what service you sell. There will be more or less of no's before you get a yes. So it's really that mentality of going forward and trying again and again and again, and at the end you will get a yes. And this mentality I really carry it with me, and it really helps me as an entrepreneur to really push myself and not self-reject, because as you said, most people, and I'm only human, it happens to me as well every now and then, where you just you're afraid to fail, you're afraid of rejection, you're afraid of, looking stupid. But then, what if it works? And what if you actually, do a great job? And what if you get the yes? So it's that question that actually, I think for me, it's a kind of, it's a breakthrough again and again, helps me to like push myself out of the comfort zone and really, go for maybe it's a yes.
Maybe it will work. Okay, last question about questions, and then we start. This was just the warm up. One question that you wanted to, that you were never asked, and you wanted to.
One question that I was never asked. Well, I cannot say the question, because that I was asked.
Did you say yes?
I did say yes. So
Congratulations.
that's one question that I was asked. No, but coming back to like a serious question that I would have wanted to be asked. I don't know if there is a specific question, but there is a specific time, and I think maybe for me that's more important when it comes to questions, is do you have the people around you that can ask you the right question or questions at the right time, in your career, or at the right time, in your relationship, etc. Do you have those people that are ready to ask you the right questions, or maybe even the hard questions, to really get you to think? And probably, if I look back at my career, there were a few moments in my career that maybe I would have wanted someone to ask me, like, are you really sure, like, this is the best thing for you right now? But I didn't. I didn't maybe have those people at the time, and I just pushed through. And I eventually, of course, I managed, and I went through with things, and it turned into, of course, growth and resilience.
Like going with the flow, you mean?
Yeah, but maybe that would be something that I would have wanted to have, these people around me to ask me the right questions at the right time.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That's it. So this was about the questions. This was the warm up. Welcome to Relocate to Happiness podcast. And now we're gonna start no, I'm joking, about the serious question. Okay, so you were more than you mentioned a few times like the career change and everything, and I just want to ask you more about, you were more than 10 years in the corporate world, right? And then you just decided to stop, and you decided to move on. Tell me a little bit about the journey and what made that click. What happened?
Well, it's a beautiful journey, I have to say. It was actually a very hard decision for me to change careers and to leave corporate. It was not an easy one, and I've actually been working at it, I would say, for 2-3 years before I actually made the switch completely. But even though it started, I want to say, a bit by accident, I landed in the corporate world a bit by accident. I really fell in love with with the industry that I was working in, which was quite niche, and that kind of made it so that I stayed in the corporate environment and really in the same industry for over 10 years. And the way I look at my career change is it's more like a career extension, if I can call it. So obviously I'm out of the corporate world fully, but I am serving the corporate world. And that's, I think, what made me want to change. I wanted to, well, first, I guess I did it also for myself. I did want to gain some perspective. So obviously, being in the corporate world for a decade meant that I really was full on for for 10 years plus. And at some point, you kind of lose perspective of things. Of things that are important to you, of the value that you bring, the things that you can do, the things that the corporate world gives to you. So first of all, I think I did it also for myself to just kind of gain perspective. But second of all, I really saw the need to have the knowledge of positive psychology brought into organizations. I think for me, COVID was a bit of an eye opener when I realized that for the majority of our studies and professional development, we really learn how to be good or how to be better at certain things, how to communicate better, how to negotiate better, how to, I don't know, close deals, whatever the area that you're working in. But we don't really get a lot of training or a lot of knowledge on how to manage ourselves better. And for me, this was something that I realized during COVID, that people actually in general, we lack the resources to manage ourselves, to manage our emotions, to manage our mindset. Those negative thoughts that come to mind. And I really saw that positive psychology was helping me personally to actually go through this very bad period in time in a relatively smooth way. So of course there were lots of things happening in the world, and everyone was worried, and I was worried about my family, about my mom, about my friends, etc. But at the same time, I was able to have the resources and to utilize the resources to feel good, to make sure that I have a routine in place, that I exercise, that I eat well, that I try to spend time with my friends, even though it was online. We were doing dinner nights and lots of things just to make sure that we stayed connected. So I think that's the main reason, if I look at kind of the decision to leave my corporate career and come out of it, was to really be able to serve employees, ex-colleagues, the industry that I really care for, from the outside, with the knowledge and expertise that I can bring, and obviously with positive psychology tools and frameworks.
Yeah, because actually you are out of the corporate world, but your clients are now from the corporate world. So how does it go together?
Well, it's funny, because I realized that some of the, let's call them small frustrations that you have in corporate when you work as an employee, they actually translate very well to being an entrepreneur and to the life of an entrepreneur. Because you do have to deal with the same things, like uncertainty, change, all of those things still are in place. But the beauty of it is really being able to have that perspective, and to really, having taken a step back from the day-to-day, to be able to share a fresh perspective on how ex-colleagues, people in the industry that I know, and obviously lots of other people can really, I say always, be well, do well, and then feel well. How can you really be productive, of course, at work, because that's something that I think we're all aiming for. We all want to do well and feel productive and feel fulfilled, but at the same time feel happy and really be happy at work. I truly believe that we can and we should feel happy at work. It's a place where we spend so much of our time that when we are not happy at work, all of the rest of the things at work but also at home will be negatively impacted. So I really try to bring that notion of like happiness first, success second, into the corporate world, with of course a lot of research and data points to prove that this is the case. We are happy and then we are successful, and it's not the other way around.
Exactly, something very important. Can you share with me a few of the strategies and about happiness at work, and what are you actually doing in the teams? Just because you mentioned now happiness at work, which is a big issue. Not a big issue, a big theme.
It's a big theme. It is a big theme because I again, just bringing it back to all of the changes that the teams have experienced over these past years. It really is a new environment. Like most companies are still navigating and are still trying to find this new normal, which is harder, I think, than expected initially, because few months or a couple of years into this new normal, people realize, maybe they are not communicating as much as they were. They actually don't have this sense of belonging as they used to. They don't share as much with their colleagues. So lots of these things that maybe initially were not noticed, over months or over a year or two, you actually start to see the results. So the work that I do today, it's mostly with organizations around connection, belonging, and of course in general happiness, and creating a more positive and happy culture at work. So I do work either with teams where we just work to make sure that the team first of all gets a moment of connection, which is not as easy if you consider that teams have become remote or half remote or have become more global. I work with teams that are literally spread all over the world. It's impossible for them to get together every quarter, for example, but you do want to have that moment of connection where you're together and you don't talk about work, but you connect over something else. So that can be a workshop, that can be a session of play. I do run different workshops. And then I do work with learning and development teams where we look at professional development and really developing that human side of professional development. So I work on things like mindset, talking about the benefits of cultivating a growth and a positive mindset. I do workshops on strengths and really helping people not only know what their strengths are, but really developing them and utilizing them every single day. And then I do a number of workshops, always, of course, surrounding positive psychology. So I talk a lot about rest and the importance of recovery. I talk about energy and how important it is to sustain, the energy. So if we look at the amount of hours a day, hours a week, months, years we have to work, we really have to find a way to work more sustainably. And the way to do that is, of course, to make sure that we balance out and we understand when we need recovery, etc. So that's something that I really focus on, because I think my clients and the people that I work with, it's a common recurring topic that needs addressing, and it seems like nobody ever has time to actually rest.
The lack of recovery, you're saying? The lack of recovery, the lack of holidays, or?
Yeah. So people, I'm sure you can. Of course, you've also worked in the past in a similar environment. This dragging. Let's say this need of recovery and dragging it to either the evening, but mostly to the weekend, or looking forward to this holiday. That you have there to rest. well, it's not really a sustainable way to do it, right? If you look at, what do you want in terms of, well, sustainability now? So if you were to look at your body as an athlete, athletes don't say like, okay, I'm just going to train for 8 months and then I'm going to recover after 8 months. No, they actually, train today and they recover before the next session of training, and then they recover again and again. And I think that's something that maybe in the corporate world it's not so ingrained in terms of, you need sustained recovery and you need constant recovery. It's not only at the end of the day, and it's not only at the end of the week, and it's not only in the holiday. You really need to have recurring kind of recovery throughout the day. You need the breaks. You need to take a lunch break, even if it's short, but take that lunch break and take a moment to look out of the window, or take 5 minutes to go to a walk around the block. Then I actually do lots of workshops on play, because I truly believe we as humans should play more. So I have a few workshops where I really just have people play together, and obviously we discuss the importance of play at work, and for adults, and how we can bring those minutes of joy through play.
Are you doing the workshops online, or are you actually going to the companies and you're playing with them?
A combination of both. As hard as it might sound, I actually do have some workshops online where we play online, and it's working. Well, I would say as good as offline, taking into account that you don't have that human, let's say, touch or connection usually. Usually play, it's also most of the times like the touch aspect comes into it. So obviously we lack that, but besides that, we really have the connection with each other. We have the competition, we have the collaboration, we have the strategizing in groups and trying to win against the other teams. So I think it's important, and it really shows a different side of people, that's being in corporate and overall being remote, or working in hybrid teams spread across the world. You don't really have the opportunity to do that very often. So again, it's for me, it's truly bringing people together and creating that space and that time for people to connect, even if it's virtually.
And you recently had a workshop, 3 well-being strategies for peak performance. Am I right? You want to share with me also some of this?
Yes, I can, of course, share with you, and I can also afterwards provide you with the details so people can check it out. But we basically run the webinar with, I run it with another trainer, and we focused on these 3 well-being strategies to really enable peak performance. And again, it goes back to the topic that I mentioned before. We really wanted to put the emphasis on well-being, and focusing on your well-being actually supports and can enable that peak performance that you're looking for. So we shared three simple strategies. Well, I say simple, but simple to grasp and not simple to implement. The first one, it's around the mindset. So we really started by telling our participants the importance of cultivating this positive and growth mindset I was mentioning before, because for us it's really a bit like the foundation, right? It's kind of it's the engine, right, that drives the machine. So if you as an individual, as a leader, are in an organization, or as an entrepreneur, it also applies, and you are able to get yourself to a place, or to push yourself towards this growth mindset, where you see challenges as opportunities. You see challenges as something that might be, as a way to get outside of the comfort zone, as a way to achieve something greater than what you initially imagine. If you're able to see failure not as a kind of the limit, of your abilities or something bad, but really as a learning, as something that you can build on, and you can take on to your next experience, and where you can see success not really as this perfect thing or perfection, this achievement moment, but really like a learning journey where you can see you are successful, but because you're growing and you're going forward, and you're achieving more through having positive but also having negative experiences, now failing at things. That's kind of the first strategy to getting yourself towards that peak performance. The second strategy we discussed was self-leadership and positive leadership practices. And we really focused on, well, first the self-leadership part, which is really truly managing yourself. Again, as a way to manage others better. It really starts with, knowing yourself, managing yourself and growing yourself. So, taking that time to, well, first of all, know yourself, know what you're good at, know how you can,
know your skills.
Yes, your skills. What can you bring to the table? And then taking time to reflect, what's working, what's not working, what do you need to stop, what do you need to continue, what do you need to start.
Like a mini SWOT. A mini SWOT, for a mini SWOT for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's important to go through that exercise and really know what is it, what's working and what's not. And then we discussed about the importance of seeking feedback as a way to, of course, grow yourself. And we explained the Johari window, which and we focus specifically on this one of the corners, which is your blind spots, and the importance to understand that there are things about myself, for example, that that I actually don't. And how important it is to, have that candid conversation where I ask, like, look, can you give me some feedback? How do you think this podcast went? I want to have that feedback because I want to do better. So that was the second strategy. And then the third strategy was really around sustaining your energy and doing this sustainable more sustainable way of working as an individual and as a team, to have the view of where is the team standing, where do you stand as an individual in terms of the projects that you can deliver. It's all around, of course, avoiding burnout. I mean, of course, in the corporate world, we are always or often stretched and pulled right and left, and in that let's say maybe chaos, where you actually do want to deliver, you push yourself too hard or you push your team too hard, and something that could have been, a great success story turns into a burnout story, or people leaving the company, then putting more burden on the people that stay behind. And we really wanted to focus on the importance of preventing and really taking the pulse as an individual and as a team, more often on where do we stand, where do we stand in terms of energy? Are we, good still? Do we need to kind of release a bit the accelerator pedal? Do we need to brake a little in order to continue? So those were the three strategies that we shared in the webinar.
Very, very interesting. And you mentioned a lot of things, but I will focus on the last one that you said. Any statistics about burnout, depression, people, like living levels of people, like of changing? How do you call it?
Turnover.
The turnover in companies. Do you have something that is worrying at the moment?
So one of the most worrying statistics that I think I saw, and at the moment it's kind of top of my mind, is that up to 73% of leaders on a major survey done last year, 73% of leaders are burned out and feel exhausted at the end of each day. So for me, that's very worrying, right? Because you are, the leader. Obviously, it's kind of the example. You're in charge of making sure that you understand how your team is doing, that you're able to support their well-being and their performance. But if you yourself as a leader are at the brink of burnout or in burnout exhaustion, I really doubt that the leadership performance then will really support what it needs to support, which is the well-being and performance of the people that you lead as a leader. So that for me, it's a very worrying statistic. If you look at also all of the other research around the importance that a leader or your manager has in your life. There was another study done last year that was saying that your manager has the same impact on your life as your spouse or partner. So that is a big impact to have. And if the person that has such a big impact in your life, it's burnout and should help you and should care for you, should be able to see the signs of burnout and be able to help you prevent or get out of it. If that person himself or herself is burned out and
what example would you take from it? Like what is the example that you would actually, if they're like burnout, what would you do if this is your role model? Or what did you want to say?
No, it's very hard, right? Because if I've also been in the situation where I've seen leaders around me truly at their limit, and it's worrying, right? Even as an employee, you see a person that it's supposed to inspire you, also struggling and not being able to solve it, because I think that's not the problem, but not taking the time to solve it. I think that's the problem. But we really have to go, and there is no time to say, okay, I need to take a week off or a month off. I need to go away. I need to solve kind of the puzzle of how can I move forward. And most of the times I truly believe it's about having the right tools, having the awareness and then having the right tools to manage things. Once you understand that you, for example, I don't know, you don't take any breaks throughout the day, and that really leaves you exhausted at the end of the day, and you understand that the solution is quite simple. Just take the breaks. Look at the statistics, and I also in my workshops I give lots of statistics when it comes to the impact in the brain of having this 4-hour long back-to-back meetings, etc. When you understand the impact of taking that, and it doesn't have to be long. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but truly taking that break every hour and a half or 2 hours as recommended, to really give your brain that moment of disconnection. It's not true disconnection, but that moment of switching from work to something that might be looking out of the window, going on a walk, enjoying and truly savoring a cup of tea or a cup of coffee.
So no more lunches sorry to interrupt. I wanted to say, so no more lunch breaks in front of the computer and.
No, please. I mean, of course, I always say this is not 100%. It's not do it or don't. Of course, I also sometimes still have a quick lunch at the desk, where I have. Yes, we are not perfect. I'm only human. But it's not about not doing it. It's not doing it regularly. It's okay, if one day you have a busy day and you truly you try to obviously make sure that you have all of the things done. Maybe you cannot take a half an hour break for lunch or an hour break for lunch. But even if you take 15 minutes, just, maybe shut the computer and I don't know. For example, I do lots of learning and, and development myself. So sometimes I actually just put something that I'm studying at the time, and I just watch that. So it's a way to kind of keep working on things and trying to make sure that I'm doing what I have to do that day, but then also nourishing myself. But the advice is no, take that time and go away regularly to have lunch, to drink a cup of tea, drink a cup of coffee, and
To talk to your colleagues, to connect with your colleagues, and not only be there like in front and with the email and the food in front on the desk, right?
Yeah, I think it's gotten worse probably since we went to this hybrid home office. I mean, I can talk for myself. I usually work very close to my kitchen, so it kind of is very tempting to just grab the food and bring it. I don't have a space to eat, but we made it a thing with my partner to actually just have a moment of connection during lunch. So I don't want to miss on that. Therefore, whenever he's at home and I'm at home, we actually take the time to have a moment of connection between the two of us.
Sweet and beautiful. And talking about sweet, I want to ask you about I want to go back to the corporate world, and I want to ask you about how is the entrepreneur life?
Entrepreneur life, it's different.
Tell me more.
I have to say, I didn't know what to expect. First of all, it's unlike for maybe many people out there that are entrepreneurs, that always said to themselves, oh, I want to become entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss. That was never a dream of mine until very recently. So it's different. Having spent, over a decade in corporate, and before working in other environments, but always in teams. I do find the entrepreneur life to be a little bit lonely. If you're a social person and talkative as I am, I miss the people, but it's been a blast. I can truly say that it's been a great journey. I actually was thinking about this at the end of last year, and I was trying to reflect on what would be like a word for my year last year as an entrepreneur, and the first thing that came to mind was change, right? Because of course it's a lot of change, but then I was really kind of trying to go a little bit deeper. I was like, it's not really change that I'm looking for, because it's not change, and I actually realized it was growth. Growth was the thing that really characterized my journey as an entrepreneur, because I kind of went into the journey of becoming an entrepreneur without necessarily knowing how it will fit with me. So of course I had lots of talks with lots of different entrepreneurs, men and women in different industries, doing different things. And I had lots of views of what it meant to be an entrepreneur for them, but I didn't know how it would be for me. And the one thing that I love the most is being able to work on the things that I find important to me, and work with the clients that I truly believe I can help. So that's why one of the reasons why I decided to continue my work with corporate and truly work with the same industry that I've been in, because I know the industry, I know the people, but overall I know the day-to-day in the industry, and I think I can really bring value to the industry.
So if you will have to resume it in one sentence or more, pro and cons for the entrepreneurship versus the corporate world.
Pro and cons. So there are pro and cons for both. It's not perfect on either side. So for the corporate world, I would say for me was definitely always the people or the pro. I was really blessed to have great colleagues and great leaders throughout my career. So people is definitely the biggest pro. If I'm to look at one con, probably I would say, well, the lack of transparency that comes with working in a corporate, which makes it most of the times feel that things are not in your control. So everything is outside of your control, and as you also probably know very well, we as human beings do not feel that feeling of not being in control and that things are outside of our control. So that for me was, I think, the biggest con overall when you look at working in a very big corporate with many layers.
Yeah, I wanted to like the hierarchy, like all the layers of
Yeah, so then that really was a big con for me. If I look at entrepreneurship, my biggest pro, it's probably the flexibility to do the work that I love doing and of experimenting.
So the freedom to do whatever you want, kind of.
Yeah, and like not having boundaries. I really enjoy the feeling of knowing that I can experiment with things, and well, if things don't go well, I can experiment with something else. The damage, it's relatively small. And I have that flexibility, right? As an entrepreneur, I think this is the best thing, that you actually can adjust and you become a lot more flexible, because it's just you that you have to adjust and adapt. It's just you that needs to change course. You don't have to change course for 2,000 people that's what you're managing. It's quite slow to change course with such a big group, but if you're on your own, you are really flexible and adaptable. So that for me is the best the best thing of being an entrepreneur. If I am to say a con, and I think this is just very personal to me, I mentioned before, I do miss people. So it can be very lonely. It's my biggest con. Now, of course, there are ways to get around it, but also as an entrepreneur, I think you get caught in your day to day, and you're already doing things and trying things out, and sometimes it becomes a bit challenging to get on the same path with another entrepreneur and try things together. But well, I am doing so this year, because I realized last year, okay, it was a big change for me to go from being in an organization of I think it was over 80,000 people, 80,000 to one.
A big change, I would say, yeah.
Drastic change.
You know what's interesting, that before we started recording it, I was listening to another podcast of Amy Porterfield. I don't know if you know her, with another, I don't remember actually the guest, but she was just talking about like this being lonely as an entrepreneur and how difficult it gets. So if you want, I can give you, they have like a workshop or something in the soon. But listen, Andreea, last question. What would be one advice that you would give to all the people that the 9-to-5 people, the corporate one, or just not only the corporate world, but like in general, people that they work from 9 to 5? What would be your advice for them to make the change, to really they have they want to take the decision, but they're struggling with it? So what would you tell them?
Well, if they want to take the decision and become entrepreneurs, my first really like honest and true advice that I think everyone gave to me was like prepare. And I really want to pass that along, because it worked very well for me. So prepare is one of the things. Now, if you're a perfectionist, I will give a second advice, which is do not wait until it's perfect. Just do it. because I think for me, I prepared a lot and eventually I did it, but I can see, sometimes I'd still fall back into preparing for too long and never really doing the thing. So prepare, make sure that you don't over prepare or don't fall into this trap of perfectionism and not really starting because things are not perfect. Because the reality is that even for me, that's I mentioned before, I was preparing for 2 or 3 years in total. At the end, when I started, well, things have changed. In the first year of my entrepreneurial journey, things have changed so much. And I thought I had it all figured out when I made the jump, but it's not the case. Once you're doing it, things will change, things will shape up, things will change course, etc. So get started. But I think the biggest advice is really know why you're doing it. Why do you want to become an entrepreneur? I think lots of people, funnily enough, ask me like, oh, how is it to be an entrepreneur, be your own boss? It must be so nice, like work whenever you want. I'm like, don't work whenever I want. I literally have a pretty fixed time where I work, same as before, and not much has changed.
Actually, you work more than before. There's no before you were working from 9 to 5. Now you have to 9 to 9 and weekends, and nobody actually checks when you're like working the whole time because you're your own boss, and then you're waiting for one client, and then you're answering, and then you want to. So it's more challenging if you're asking me.
Yeah, it is more challenging, and it's definitely not working less. So, if anyone out there thinks that being an entrepreneur would be the easier because you can, work whenever you want, that's not the case. You will want to work all the time. But it's really, sorry, just to get it back to the point, it's really know why you want to do it. What are the reasons, why you want to make the change? It's most of the times it shouldn't be, as an escape from the corporate world, because I truly believe you can be happy in your job, and if it's not that job, you can find another job to be happy. So really knowing why you're doing it, why do you want to become an entrepreneur? Is there anything you want to offer, a problem you want to solve, something that you want to, let's say, tackle from a different angle that you simply can't do in your job or in your current career. So getting down to this why and the reasons behind it, for me, it's the most important thing, and really taking the time to reflect, and also kind of as you go through this reflection, it's also shaping what you actually want to offer to the world, and it's a much better place to start this journey, knowing that yes, there is something you want to offer to the world, and this is the way to do it as an entrepreneur, and then just do it. Sorry for copying nice.
I'll have to put to give some credit here to invite. Thank you so much for taking the time. Do you have any other, you want to ask me something? No, we're cool, right?
We are cool. Thanks for thanks for having me. It was I have to say, the first time that I think I am talking so much about my journey, which is something that it doesn't come easy to an entrepreneur / perfectionist / But it was a very fun conversation, and I hope people listening and looking into giving it a try to becoming an entrepreneur, or also trying to find a way to find happiness and to find meaning in their job, can find something inspiring in this conversation.
Thank you so much.